Have you ever stood in the middle of a bustling airport, suitcase in hand, and suddenly felt like everything around you was moving a little too fast? The announcements echo, the lines stretch endlessly, and your body, well, it doesn't quite move the way it used to. If you felt this, you're not alone. And let's be honest, traveling after 70 can feel like an adventure and a challenge all rolled into one. There's still so much of the world to see, family to visit, dreams to chase. And you should be able to do all of that on your terms, safely, and with peace of mind. But here's the truth. While travel can still be one of the most enriching experiences at any age, there are a few hidden dangers that sneak up on us when we're not looking. They're not the kind of dangers you see on the news or in travel brochures, but the quiet, overlooked ones that can make a simple trip feel overwhelming, exhausting, or even risky if we're not careful. That's why we're having this conversation today. Not to scare you, not to tell you to stay home, but to share a few things most people overlook, so that you can keep doing what you love without unnecessary surprises. Let's start with something that doesn't seem like a big deal until it is: dehydration. You might be thinking, I drink water, I'm fine. But here's the tricky part. As we get older, our sense of thirst naturally dulls. That means you could be dehydrated long before you ever feel thirsty. Now throw in a 5-hour flight with dry cabin air, or a full day of sightseeing in warm weather, and suddenly your energy's gone, your head aches, and your balance feels off. One misstep on a curb, one moment of lightheadedness, and the trip takes a very different turn. And the signs can be subtle, feeling foggy, a little dizzy, or just off. But it's all connected. A well-hydrated body moves easier, thinks clearer, and recovers faster. So, when you're traveling, especially by plane or bus, keep a water bottle with you at all times. Sip steadily throughout the day, even if you don't feel like it. And if you're somewhere with a different climate, hotter, drier, or more humid, listen to your body twice as carefully. But hydration's just one piece of the puzzle. Let's talk about another thing that changes after 70, your risk for blood clots, especially during long stretches of sitting. Whether it's a transatlantic flight or a road trip across the state, being immobile for hours at a time increases the risk of something called deep vein thrombosis, essentially dangerous clots forming in your legs. And the thing is, it doesn't always come with warning signs. It can feel like a cramp or just a little swelling. But if ignored, it can lead to something much more serious. The good news? It's mostly preventable. On long trips, make it a point to get up and move every hour or so. Walk the aisle, do some light stretching, rotate your ankles, even if you're just seated. Compression socks may not be the most fashionable accessory, but they do wonders for circulation. Trust me, they're worth it. Still, maybe you're thinking, I've flown before, I've been fine. And you probably were. But here's where things get sneaky. Just because something didn't happen before doesn't mean your body will react the same way this time. The difference between 65 and 75 can feel subtle until you're actually in motion. Then suddenly you notice your knees ache a little more, your energy dips a little faster, and your tolerance for stress isn't quite what it used to be. And speaking of stress, let's not ignore how mentally draining travel can be now. The rushing, the crowds, the confusing airport signs or foreign languages. It's a lot. And mental fatigue is real. You might not notice it until you're snapping at someone you love or blanking on your hotel room number. Travel stress doesn't just wear down your mood, it affects your memory, your sleep, your immune system. And when those things slip, you're more likely to get sick, feel disoriented, or make decisions you normally wouldn't. So how do you stay grounded in the chaos? Give yourself margin. Instead of rushing from gate to gate, build in buffer time. Don't plan tight layovers or jam-packed tour days. Rest is not a luxury. It's the difference between enjoying your trip and barely surviving it. Let your mind breathe between activities. Stay in one place a little longer. Take the scenic route, not because it's pretty, but because it gives you room to feel human again. And sometimes, it's not the physical or mental wear that gets us. It's the hidden emotional weight. Leaving home used to be simple. But after 70, sometimes there's a quiet worry that creeps in. Will I feel safe? What if I forget something important? What if I fall ill far from home? These fears don't mean you're weak. They mean you're wise. They mean you care. and they deserve attention, not dismissal. So, instead of pushing them down, prepare for them. Carry a list of medications. Have a copy of your medical history in your travel bag. Make sure someone knows where you are at all times. You're not being paranoid, you're being practical. And that's what gives you peace of mind. Now that we've talked about hydration, circulation, stress, and emotional readiness, there's another area that needs our attention. Your immune system. It may not be the first thing that comes to mind when you pack your suitcase, but it quietly plays a major role in how you experience your trip. At home, your body's used to your environment. The air, the food, the routines. But once you step into an unfamiliar place, everything changes. New germs, different weather, maybe even jet lag, and suddenly your body's defenses have to work overtime. At 70 and beyond, that immune response just isn't as sharp as it used to be. The sniffles that once passed in a day now linger for a week. A stomach bug that used to just be uncomfortable might now knock you down hard. That's why it's not overreacting to be a little extra cautious. Washing your hands more frequently, carrying hand sanitizer, avoiding touching your face in crowded places, these small habits can make a world of difference. And when it comes to food, this is where a lot of travelers get caught off guard. That little street cart selling something delicious might look tempting, but your gut may not agree. Stick with foods you know your body tolerates, especially in the first few days. If you're dining out, make sure it's a place that looks clean and well kept. Your stomach will thank you later. And don't forget to carry any medications you might need in case something you eat doesn't sit right. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and be scrambling in a foreign pharmacy. Now, another thing we often overlook, but it creeps up in the most inconvenient ways, is fatigue. Travel isn't just about physical movement. It's about planning, adapting, socializing, and sometimes just trying to keep up with the group. That constant stimulation can drain your energy before you even realize it. And unlike in your younger years, you might not bounce back after a single good night's sleep. The tiredness can linger, and worse, it can cloud your thinking. Fatigue makes us more forgetful. It makes navigating unfamiliar places harder. It increases the chances of tripping, missing steps, misplacing belongings. The key is to listen to your body before it starts yelling at you. Don't force yourself to keep going just because others are. Let your day have space for rest. Sit in a quiet cafe. Skip the fifth museum. Take a nap in the middle of the day if you need to. Your trip should feel like a joy, not a marathon. And with that, there's something else to consider: mobility. It changes gradually over time, and sometimes we don't notice how much until we're faced with a steep staircase in an old hotel or a cobblestone street in a historic city. What might have once been a minor inconvenience suddenly becomes a real obstacle. Don't feel embarrassed to use mobility aids when you travel. A folding cane, a walker, or even requesting wheelchair service at the airport, these aren't signs of weakness. They're tools of independence. They give you access to the world on your terms. And sometimes, all it takes is planning ahead, choosing the right hotel with elevators, booking tours that accommodate your pace, or simply wearing the right shoes to keep you stable on uneven ground. Too often, people over 70 feel they have to keep up, or prove they're still strong enough to do it all. But strength isn't about pretending you're not tired. It's about knowing what your body needs and honoring it, without shame, without apology. And here's one more subtle risk that's easy to miss: overexposure to heat or cold. Our bodies regulate temperature differently as we age. A warm day that feels pleasant to someone younger can lead to heat exhaustion for someone over 70. A cool breeze on a spring morning might slip into your bones and lead to stiffness or worse, illness. Always check the weather in detail. Not just the temperature, humidity, wind, and sun intensity all matter. Dress in layers. Pack a wide-brimmed hat for the sun and a light scarf for unexpected chills. Don't wait until you feel too hot or too cold. Adjust as you go. And pay attention to how your skin feels, how your energy is holding up. If you're sweating more than usual or starting to shiver, that's your body asking for help. And while we're talking about subtle signs, never ignore the little voice that says, something feels off. Whether it's a sudden fatigue that doesn't make sense, a slight chest pressure, or just a sense of being unwell, listen to it. Better to get checked out early than to wait until it becomes a crisis far from home. Travel should bring joy, not fear. But joy grows stronger when it's built on awareness, preparation, and care. Every trip you take after 70 is a victory in itself. A declaration that you're still exploring, still growing, still living with intention. And the more you take care of your body and your needs, the more freedom you'll have to do just that. Let's keep going because there's one more important factor to look at, something that often doesn't get enough attention, but quietly impacts everything else. Your mental clarity. You see, one of the most underestimated dangers of traveling after 70 is how easy it is to become mentally disoriented. Not because of age in itself, but because travel, especially to unfamiliar places, throws off your inner rhythm. New time zones, new languages, crowds, traffic, maps, noise, it's a lot. Even for a sharp mind, this kind of constant mental adjustment can start to feel like fog settling in over your thoughts. You might find yourself forgetting simple things, like your hotel room number or where you set down your bag. Maybe you feel confused trying to read signs or follow directions, even when they're simple. That can be frustrating, even scary, especially if you're alone or feel like others are rushing you. This doesn't mean your mind is failing. It means your brain is trying to protect you from overload. The solution isn't to retreat or avoid travel, it's to simplify. Carry a small notepad or use your phone to jot down reminders. Take pictures of important things, like the name of your hotel or a nearby landmark. Give yourself permission to move slower. If you're traveling with someone, agree ahead of time to use a buddy system. Two heads really are better than one in a busy airport or crowded market. Also, don't be afraid to speak up if you're confused. Most people are kind, especially when they realize you need help. The world can be surprisingly warm when we allow ourselves to ask. There's no shame in pausing to gather your bearings. You're wise enough to know what matters, and being safe, feeling calm, that matters more than keeping pace with anyone else's expectations. And while we're on the subject of mental sharpness, let's talk about medications. Because missing a dose, taking the wrong pill, or having your meds exposed to heat or humidity, those mistakes happen more than you'd think while traveling. When you're at home, you've got a routine. You know where everything is, what time to take it, and what happens if you miss it. But once you're on the road, even a small change can throw it all off. Packing medications in a travel pill organizer is a great start, but even better is keeping a printed list in your bag. What you take, how much, and when. If you're flying, keep that list in your carry-on, not in checked luggage. If you're going somewhere remote or international, consider talking to your doctor before you leave. You may need a backup prescription or special storage instructions, especially for medications that are sensitive to temperature. You'd be surprised how many travelers realize mid-trip that they've miscounted their pills or forgotten to bring a backup. And depending on where you are, replacing a prescription can range from inconvenient to nearly impossible. But with a little planning, it doesn't have to be stressful. It's just one more step in setting yourself up for a smooth, enjoyable journey. Another hidden danger, one that can quietly build up if you're not watching for it, is dehydration. When we're younger, our bodies give us louder signals. Thirst hits and we go grab a drink. But after 70, that signal weakens. You might go hours without water and not even notice you're parched. Combine that with walking more than usual, hot weather, or high altitudes, and you've got the perfect storm. Dehydration doesn't always show up as a dry mouth. Sometimes it's lightheadedness, fatigue, or muscle cramps. It might feel like sudden irritability or confusion. That's why sipping water regularly, not just when you're thirsty, is one of the smartest habits you can adopt while traveling. Carry a refillable bottle with you, and make it a small goal to finish it by lunch, then refill again for the afternoon. Add a slice of lemon if it helps you enjoy it more. And don't let concerns about bathroom breaks stop you from drinking enough. Find out where restrooms are ahead of time, plan breaks into your day, and take comfort in knowing that staying hydrated actually helps regulate your bladder better over time. And finally, let's talk about something a little more emotional, something not often mentioned, but quietly present for many travelers later in life: loneliness. It might sound strange, especially if you're traveling with family or friends, but moments of isolation can creep in even in the middle of a crowd. You might feel left out of fast-paced conversations, or like you're slowing others down. You might miss home more than you expected, or just feel a quiet ache that's hard to name. This isn't weakness. It's human. When you've lived a full life, you carry so many memories, so much wisdom, and sometimes being in a new place brings all of that to the surface. That's not a bad thing. In fact, it's one of the reasons traveling can be so powerful. It opens the door for reflection, for peace, for a deeper connection with yourself. So if you find yourself feeling a little down during a trip, don't ignore it. Take a moment to breathe, to rest, to journal if that helps. Talk to someone you trust. Maybe call a grandchild or a close friend and share a moment from your day. Sometimes all it takes is one small, genuine connection to lift your spirit and remind you why you're here in the first place. You're not just sightseeing, you're living. And life doesn't stop being rich and meaningful after 70. In fact, many would say it becomes more precious than ever. Because every step you take, every sunrise you watch in a new place, that's a celebration of the years behind you and the courage it takes to keep exploring. So here's to you, the brave traveler, the curious soul, the wise heart still hungry for life's wonders. May every journey be filled with purpose, and may you never stop moving forward with care, intention, and joy.